All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory unto our power, Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachah Kodash. Double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone who taught us his truth and who also rule well. Peace and salutation to those of the hopeful elect. All right, just want to do a lesson, pretty much, land backing off the video that the elder, the apostle, Ramlab did. All right, he was doing a lesson. In a lesson, he was going into how, let me see, I had wrote it down. There it is. In the lesson, he brought up, if you don't comply, you will be denied. All right. And that's concerning when Esau Edom, fully implements the MOTB. OK. And, the apostle, he said, that was a good title for a lesson, and then the spirit hit me, was like, I might as well, go into it, while the spirit was on me, to go into it, and the title of this lesson is going to be called, If You Don't Comply, You Will Be Denied. All right. Because Esau Edom, he's setting up his NWO. All right. We're closer than we've ever been. All right. And seeing how, they got Trump in there, everything is being forwarded. OK, it's only a matter of time until America, collapses. All right. You got all these tariffs going on, and even, Esau Edom, he's introducing, the beast system on a higher level. All right. Certain stores have a new, have a new layout in the stores. OK, you have pretty much all the food is going to be behind a locked door. All right. And the door is going to have, a digital image of the product that you want. All right. And then if you don't have that MOTB to scan, all right, the door, it's not going to open. You're not going to be able to access, the food products and stuff. All right. So that's a new layout that's being introduced in these different grocery stores. OK. And, those doors are like reinforced doors. So you can't really break into them like that. All right. Which is going into, the title of the lesson. All right. If you don't comply, you will be denied. OK, if you do not comply with Esau Edom's, new way, of, buying and selling, and dealing in this society, which will be with the MOTB, the Neuralink, and the subdermal device. If you do not comply with that, you will be denied the amenities that come with this society. All right, the amenities that come with living on the grid. OK. And Esau wants you to believe that if you're not attached to his society, then you will fail. You will starve to death. You will die. You'll go crazy. All these different things, because they want you to be dependent, upon him, pretty much. They don't want you to be, autonomous. OK. And this is why, you can't freely fish. You can't, you got to have a permit. You can't, go out and, hunt you can't get your own venison if you want, you got to go get a license to do that. You can't collect rainwater. You got to you'll get fined if you do that. Okay. All these things, you got to pay for water. You know, all these things that should be freely given of the Heavenly Father. And Esau, Edom has a monopoly over it because, you know, again, they want total control. All right, like the Apostle Ramlab and the Elder Hanak was going into on that lesson. You know, they want total control. All right. But see, the thing is, you know, they're not going to be able to completely control the Lord's elect. All right. The Lord's elect, you know, are going to be sustained by the Spirit of Yahweh Shema Shai. OK, and the Lord, you know, is going to confirm our faith. All right. In the form of performing miracles. All right. To comfort us, to let us know, you know, that he's with us, because the elect is not going to be tied to the society. All right. Especially by way of the MOTB. All right. In this time that we're in. Let me get a quick precept. Bear with me. This is Isaiah chapter 10 and 20. It says, and it shall come to pass in that day, which we're in that day now, that the remnant of Israel and such as are escaped of the house of Jacob, the elect, shall no more again stay upon him that smote them. Speaking of Esau, Edom. All right. He smote the people with a continual wrath. All right. You know, Esau, he's in rulership. He's the one has this caste system and has, you know, the Lord's chosen people at the bottom, you know, suffering. All right. It says, shall no more again stay upon him that smote them, but shall stay upon the Lord, the Holy One of Israel, in truth. All right. So now we're in a time where we're no longer depending on Esau, Edom, his system that he has established. Now, currently, all right, all hell hasn't completely broke loose yet. So, you know, we still, you know, utilize, you know, this society for what it is. All right, the scriptures say to use the world and not abuse the world. Okay, you know, we still hit the grocery stores and whatnot. You know, we still have vehicles. You know, we still, you know, pay our rent. You know, we pay our taxes and whatnot. You know, we still paying our debts. Okay. You know, but when Esau, Edom, you know, forces that MOTB, that's when all bets are off. Okay. That's when all bets are off. All right. And that's when we're really going to have to lean upon Yahweh Shema Shai. That's when we're going to have to truly forsake everything. All right. Because it's going to be a new monetary system wherein how are you going to pay for gas if you don't have the MOTB? How are you going to, you know, pay your rent if the payment is in a form of you got to have this subdermal device? You got to be dialed into the system, you know, that new UBI, universal basic income. OK, so we're going to, Lord's will, we're part of the elect. We're going to forsake everything, all this. All right. And they made a movie. I believe it's called Demolition Man, if I'm not mistaken. All right. But they was living like underground. They was living rural. You know, they was, you know, casted to like the outskirts, you know, of the cities. All right. But then in the inner cities, everything was all futuristic. OK, that's how Esau, Edom is going to begin to start making this society. All right. And you're going to see the law enforcement fizzle out. And you're going to start seeing more and more boots on the ground. All right. People's going to be rising up. You know, certain cities are going to be completely lawless. All right. Civil unrest. All right. And then other cities are going to be highly protected, you know, brigaded up. You know, there's access points to get in and out of the city. All right, but those cities are going to be ran with the MOTB. All right, you're going to have robots walking around. Esau Edom, he's really getting ready, to really bring, that wrath upon the people and get people, to conform to his new system. But again, the elect, are going to resist that. All right, because the scriptures speak about, it says, thou shalt not follow a multitude to do evil. OK, so the multitude, all right, they're going to be, peer pressured into wanting to, things to go back to in the normal. They're not going to want to suffer or catch hell. All right, people are going to be panicking, not knowing where they're going to get their next meal, and they're going to be folding. All right, and they're going to be in that line, to receive that MOTB. Now, the Lord commanded Israelites not to take it. OK, let me get this is 2nd Ezra chapter 16. And I'm going to hit 40. It says, I'm going to start at 39. All right. It says, even so shall not the plagues. I got to go up. I got to get the context. Salakia. 2nd Ezra 16 and 37. Behold, the plagues draw nigh and are not slack. It says, as when a woman with child in the 9th month bringeth forth her son with 2 or 3 hours of her birth, great pains compass her womb, which pains when the child cometh forth, they slack not a moment. All right, so that's like the plagues, that's likened unto the plagues that's coming. All right, and we see those birth pains, as the woman gets closer, to that birth, to giving birth, the pains become, not only do they become more stronger, they become more frequent too. So it's like it compounds upon itself. It's like it's more the frequency of those pains. Okay, it's like they're compounded. They're more and more frequent, and they're more and more intense as it goes forth. All right, and likened unto these plagues that's coming. Okay, so things will pick up and become more intense in the earth, but then things is going to get to a point where things is moving so fast, and heavy judgments is going to be coming down on a whole nother level. All right, leading up to the great judgment when America gets hit with those thermonuclear missiles, man. All right, but leading up to that is going to be a lot of catastrophe. There's going to be a lot of, plagues going forth, famines, pestilences, okay, civil unrest, all out, societal collapse, okay? And then World War III is going to continue to escalate as well, because those missiles, all right, America's destruction is the direct result of the Lord stirring up World War III, okay? And of course, in the time of Jacob's trouble, that's going to happen. The MOTB is going to be implemented before the missiles get let off. Okay? The missiles is a direct judgment for those that receive the MOTB, that still want to be glued to the society that's first and foremost wicked, and second off is completely broken. All right? The scriptures speak about we would have healed Babylon, but you can't heal this place. All right? Esau Edom implementing the MOTB, that's his last hoorah. That's him pretty much, shooting in the dark, so to speak. But he gonna attempt it anyway. A lot of people's gonna latch onto it, but he's still gonna be unsuccessful, because ultimately the elect are gonna be kept, all right, from the hour of temptation. Okay. Let me go back. 2nd Ezra 16 and 39. It says, even so shall not the plagues be slack to come upon the earth, and the world shall mourn, and sorrow shall come upon it on every side. You're not going to be able to escape, the different the hell that's going to be out here. Verse 40, here's the point. It says, "Oh, my people, hear my word." And the only ones that's really going to hearken unto the words of Yahweh Shemel Shai are the remnant, okay? The 1/3, the elect. It says, "Make you ready to thy battle, and in those evils be even as pilgrims upon the earth." Okay, going back to the title of the lesson, if you don't comply, you will be denied. All right, and if you're denied, that means you're going to be ostracized from this society. Therefore, you're not going to have a dwelling place to live. You know, you're not going to have and if you don't have the MOTB, you're pretty much going to be on a wanted list. Okay, so you know, the spirit of Yahweh Shemel Shai is going to have to be with us, you know, to be able to maneuver and get around, you know, while we're waiting, you know, to be delivered. Okay, because it says, "Be ye as pilgrims on the earth." Let me get that definition for pilgrim. Okay, pilgrim. This is a Google definition. All right, from Oxford. So it says, "A person who journeys to a sacred place for religious reasons, travel or wander like a pilgrim." Okay, so we're going to be, you know, traveling and wandering, but Yahweh Shemel Shai said he was going to be our guide. So the Lord is going to be guiding us in the times of evil, where we're fully going to have to lean on the Lord for food, for you know, raiment, you know, for direction, for protection. We're going to have to lean on Yahweh Shemel Shai for all these things. All right, like we've never done before. Because again, you ain't gonna be able to work a 9 to 5. All right, you know, we're not gonna be able to, you know, utilize the Federal Reserve note because it's going to be obsolete. You know, so we're just going to be out here and the Lord is going to sustain us. All right, while everybody's bugging out, you know, people's getting judged, people's dying, like those movies, The Road, all right, The Book of Eli, you know, and many more movies. All right, it's going to be like that, but even worse because it's going to be the real deal. Okay. But while these things is taking place, the Lord is going to be sustaining his elect. The scriptures say, "My servants shall eat, but ye shall be hungry." All right. But nevertheless, we still going to have to be in the spirit of a pilgrim. And that's why, you know, the spirit is on, you know, the apostles, you know, elder brothers, you know, that, you know, the brother, the elder Kanak. All right. To really push, you know, to get our bodies right, to starting off with our nutrition, you know, the diet goes into lifestyle, you know, getting into that stretching, you know, taking the herbs, going on certain detox so that, you know, our bodies could be more prepared for the battle. All right. Just the spirit of Yahweh Shemel Shai working through his men. All right. So that we can, you know, because we pretty much are ahead of the curve. We got a head start through the spirit of power Yahweh Shemel Shai, what the Lord going to do. So while we're here anticipating, you know, we could be, you know, becoming the best version of ourselves. All right. So, you know, that's the path that the Lord has his elect on. All right. Because it's going to be tough. We're going to be tested. All right. So, you know, the Lord is building us up, not just physically, but spiritually as well. All right. So let me go back. 2nd Ezra 16 and 40 says, "Oh, my people, hear my word. Make ye ready to thy battle. And in those evils, be even as pilgrims upon the earth." All right. No certain dwelling place. Okay. This is just temporary, you know, transitory time. All right, until Yahushua comes and delivers us. Abaratazah, we part of that number. All right, but we will be ostracized from society. Going back to the title, if you don't comply, you will be denied. All right, and denied access to the society. All right, I want to get that definition for ostracized. This is the definition for ostracized. Exclude someone from a society or group. Okay, so we will be excluded from a society, all right, which will be this society, okay? And if we're secluded, Salaki, if we're excluded from this society, then guess what? We're not going to have access to the immediate, the immediate quote unquote luxuries. 144 call Allah Yahweh Shema Shai on the license plate. We're not going to have access to the immediate luxuries of the society. Okay, this fast food, but the beautiful thing is the Lord has us, in that stoic mindset, that stoic spirit, because in that time you're going to need to be in that stoic mindset spirit to be able to withstand in the evil day. All right, here it is. We're going to have patience and wait on Yahweh Shema Shai to feed us. Okay, and when the Lord do it, best believe the Lord going to hook Jake up. All right, the Lord is going to hook Jake up. Versus these people, they're so used to having everything at their fingertip. All right, they're literally, going to be, flocking towards Esau Edom's MOTB just so they can get a fucking Smucker sandwich, so they can get a bologna sandwich, all right, with a fucking a milk carton, one of the milk cartons that you used to get in elementary school. That's what they're gonna be in line for. And then even then, people's gonna have the MOTB, and there's still gonna be food shortages, and people still are gonna suffer and die of starvation, even with the MOTB, just because they believe in this system, man. All right, they don't want to be denied this society. They don't want to be ostracized from this society, but they don't have anything but else outside. Because Esau Edom ultimately is these people's gods. Okay? But as for those that are the hopeful elect, we're going to lean upon Yahweh Shema Shai, all right? The creators of the heavens and the earth. And the Lord's going to be there to perform miracles for us. That's the spirit. Car honked on it. But the Lord's going to be there to perform miracles. All right, the Lord gonna make sure his servants, are good in that day, because the Lord is gonna reward the faith. Okay, that's what the Lord is looking for. Is a faith in Yahweh Shema Shai. Even though we don't know where we gonna go, what we gonna do. All right, just have faith in the Lord. The Lord gonna guide us. So let me get another precept. I'm gonna jump down. This is 2nd Esdras 16, and I'm gonna jump down to 68. It says, "For behold, the burning wrath of a great multitude is kindled over you, and they shall take away certain of you and feed you, being idle with things offered unto the idols." All right, that's going into the MOTB, because those that don't have, those that don't want to comply, all right, to this man's system, okay, Esau Edom, he's going to have a list, and he's going to be going after people and try to find people that are not on, that are not in the system, that are not plugged in the system, okay? So that burning wrath, all right, Esau Edom, they're practicing now. Okay, they have, different places where they're practicing modern warfare. Okay, in modern environments, and how they're gonna, be coming down upon the people. Call Allah Yahweh Shema Shai 144 on a whole nother vehicle license plate right here. I'm on a walk right now, but yeah, Esau right now, that's that burning wrath. they're preparing right now. You know, they got a whole bunch of crowd control, you know, weaponry, you know, that they've been practicing, and, you know, and now they're getting ready to use it on actual people. Okay. So Esau, he's getting ready to come down with great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. So going back to 2nd Ezra 16 and 69, it says, and they that consent unto them shall be had in derision and in reproach and trodden underfoot. All right. So if you comply to this man's system, all right, then, and you get the MOTB in your right hand or anywhere in your body, anywhere, all right, or in your forehead, all right, then you will be had in derision, all right, and trodden, meaning you'll be destroyed. Okay, it'll be a horrible judgment. Verse 70, for there shall be in every place and in the next cities a great insurrection upon those that fear the Lord, going into the time of Jacob's trouble. Verse 71, it says, they shall be like madmen, sparing none, but still spoiling and destroying those that fear the Lord. So, hey, man, it's heavy times is coming. All right. And you got 2/3 of Israel, they just playing around. It's cool because they're preparing a table for that troop. Okay. I just seen a crow with food in his mouth. You know, crow, a raven. All right. One of the two, because I believe crows and ravens are two different species, even though they look alike. But I believe ravens are bigger. But yeah, crow had food in his mouth. It reminds me of Elijah and how the Lord, you know, fed him using the ravens. You know, and he was fed. I believe it said it brought him food, you know, like 2 times in a day or something like that. You know, so, you know, forgive me if I'm wrong. But the Lord commanded the ravens to feed them. You know, so how much more us in that time? Okay, the Lord can do that. The Lord could do anything. You know, the Lord can command the animals to bring you food. You know, wherever brothers may be. You know, brothers might be in the cities, you know, in a shanty town. Brothers might be somewhere, you know, in a more rural location. Brothers might be in the middle of the forest or something. All right, but the Lord, wherever you at, Yahweh Shema Shai is going to be there to sustain. Okay. It says, 2nd Ezra 16:71, they shall be like madmen, sparing none, but still spoiling and destroying those that fear the Lord. For they shall waste and take away their goods and cast them out of their houses. All right, because if you are not, again, dialed in to Esau Edom's new NWO and the Neuralink, the subdermal device, if you're not dialed in, how you're not your property, or whether you rent or whether you own a house, you gotta pay mortgage. You know, that's gonna be, you know, rendered the government's. That's gonna be rendered, you know, theirs, and they're gonna take it from you. You know, because really we don't own anything. We don't even own our own family. We don't own our children. You know, our wives. Everything could be taken from us. You know, so, you know, the vehicle. All right. So in that time, they said they're going to be cast out of their home. All right. So we got to be ready to give it all this up. You know, this whack ass life that we got. You know, the scriptures speak about, you know, they love not their lives unto the death. All right. You're going to have to give up your job. You might have a decent job too, a job that pay well and all that. And when they implement that MOTB, we're going to have to just say, hey, you know, do away with all this shit. You know, but until then, we have to maintain, all right, for the sake of the ministry. All right, but eventually the famine of the word is going to hit. All right. And then Jacob's trouble, so, we're anticipating that day. All right. We're getting ready. We're getting our minds ready to be separate from the society. And that's not going to be an easy thing, but the Yahweh Shema Shai is going to be with his elect. All right. The Lord going to be giving men spiritual power. Brothers going to be walking around the earth, and hey, man, hey, brothers is going to be bad, man. Brothers is going to be bad, man. The Lord is going to have brothers with that power walking around, So, Lord's will, let me just finish it out. I'm going to continue to read. Verse 73 says, then shall they be known who are my chosen, and they shall be tried as the gold in the fire. So, the elect will be tested. All right. But the elect are going to pass that test. The test is going to involve affliction. All right. But the elect are going to be able to endure the affliction through the spirit and the power of Yahweh Shema Shai. Okay. And the Lord is also balanced too. In this time, it's not just going to be all hell for the elect completely. The Lord is going to have Isaiah 4:1 happen. Spiritual power, miracles. The Lord is going to have it to where, the scripture said, at destruction and famine, thou shalt laugh. The scriptures speak about faith flourishing. All right. So it's not going to be completely doom and gloom. All right. But there is going to be a test, and it's not going to be easy. The scriptures say through great tribulation shall ye enter into that rest. So, it's important to have this understanding the balance of Yahweh Shema Shai. All right. And the benefits that come with being obedient to the Lord and trusting in his way, regardless of the scenario, So I'm going to get one more precept. Lord's will, I'll close it out. This is Revelation chapter 3 and 10. It said, and this is red letter. This is Yahweh Shai himself speaking. All right. It says, because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world to try them that dwell upon the earth. So the Lord's going to keep his elect from the hour of temptation, from the MOTB, and whatever temptation that's trying to draw people in, because people is going to be drawn in through fear, the fear of not knowing. People is going to be drawn in because they're hungry. People is going to be drawn in because they haven't took a hot shower in 3, 5, 4 weeks. People are going to be drawn in, all right, because they want things to go back to normal, so to speak. All right, there's going to be major temptation that's going to trying to draw people in. But Yahweh Shema Shai said he was going to keep his elect from that. Okay. Let's see. This is Revelation 3 and 10. Sound like somebody got judged. The ambulance. Revelation 3:10, it says, because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world to try them that dwell upon the earth. So that temptation is going to come, and people are going to be tried. People are going to be tested. All right. Even these other Israelite groups, they're going to be tested too. All right. Because the Lord is going to sit them down. They're going to think about it. And the majority of them are going to end up taking that C-hip. All right. Because they haven't prepared their congregation, all right, to resist it, to deny it. These other Israelite groups, they got all kind of gray areas. All right. You know, the blood is getting ready to be upon their hands. Right? Because they leading Israel in the wrong path of destruction. Okay? So I'm going to continue to read verse 11. It says, behold, I come quickly. Hold that fast which thou hast, that no man take thy crown. All right? So we can't even let our own selves take our own crown. You know? Because the flesh, hey, that's going to be a part of the battle. It's going to be an inward agitation. It's going to be an outward agitation. All right? The flesh going to want to be comfortable. All right, this and that. All right, but the spirit of Yahweh Shema Shai is going to supersede the flesh. All right, and intervene. And the Lord is also going to provide provisions. All right. So it's like, what's the point of getting in a line just so you can get a bologna sandwich when Yahweh Shema Shai is going to feed you? All right, here it is. Brothers is going to be fed. Brothers might come upon, you know, one of them doomsday bunkers with all kind of food. Your wives that's with you, you know, your children, if you know, y'all in a giant bunker, y'all got all kind of food and people standing in line starving. You know, so that's the Lord keeping his elect from that temptation, because there is going to be no temptation if the Lord is feeding you. You know, the Lord is going to break that temptation. Now, there is going to be a test, because we don't know, you know, what the Lord is going to do. So there's going to be a time where you are going to be tempted heavy. You know, you might not have eaten in 3 days or something. But then the Lord, if you're part of the elect, the Lord is going to do something to where you don't get overcome by the temptation. All right, to get the MOTB. You know, you might stumble across some food. The Lord might have the animals bring you food, you know, and not just any food, like some high level food too. You know, and then you good, you know, now you ain't gotta worry about it. You at the water Yahweh Shema Shai, man, the Lord came through. All right. It said, my servants shall sing for joy of heart. So Lord gonna make sure that his men are good, man. It's just all about enduring, you know. So Lord's will, this lesson is edifying. I want to say, call all Yahweh Shema Shai, Bashem Kakodash, give me the spirit to do this lesson. Double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone, who taught us his truth and who also will well. Peace and salutation to those that are hopeful elect. Shalom and a ball.